Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm Dr. Gina Anderson. I'm founder of Luma Brighter Learning. I'm a learning scientist, an educator, author, and a lifelong believer of the power of human potential. This is my fourth season, and this season is all about the courage to create. Innovation rarely begins with a perfect condition. It actually begins with curiosity, learning, and the courage to take the first step. Neuroscience shows us that when we embrace new experiences and challenge ourselves to learn, the brain actually forms new neural pathways, strengthening our capacity for creativity, problem solving, and growth. Every small step forward literally reshapes our brain and turning anything into possibility in our lives. So today I get to introduce you to Kyle Greene. And if you know him, many know him as Kyle Speaks. He has become a powerful voice for the next generation. He inspires students, educators, and communities to believe in what is truly possible. Whether he's speaking to a packed auditorium or to a single individual, Kyle brings the same passion, authenticity, and commitment to making a difference. But I met Kyle, and his work is more than just motivational speeches. It's about changing mindsets, it's about helping people see greatness within themselves, and it's about giving the courage to dream bigger than they've ever thought possible. He is affectionately known as a dream changer and the Mr. Mentality Changer. Kyle has dedicated his life to helping others rewrite stories they tell themselves. Through his book, which he's going to share with us today, The Mentality Changer, his message of hope and resilience reminds us that transformation always begins with changing the way we think. Join us today as we talk about personal growth with Kyle and why caring for just one person can completely change the trajectory of their life. Thank you, Kyle, so much for spending today with us. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you're passionate about and really what you had the courage to create?
Dr. Anderson, first off, let me say thank you so much for extending your platform to me. When people invite you into their homes, and I'm calling this your home, you got to first thank them because everybody can't come to your home. So I'm excited to be here on today. But, I was born in South Carolina in a small town
Mm.
called Jasper County. Is located in the low country part of South Carolina, down by Hilton Head, Beaufort, Savannah. And as a kid, man, growing up down a 2 mile dirt road, I did not think the life that I live today was possible when I
Mm.
was growing up. And it was because I didn't, for whatever reason, I won't blame my family. I won't blame my community, but for whatever reason, I just didn't think it was possible that somebody coming up from a small town could one day impact the masses all across the country. So growing up in rural South Carolina by my elderly grandmother, my grandmother instilled in me certain values that I carry with me today, like treat people good even when they treat you wrong. If you want something good, do something good. Respect your elders. If you want respect, you should first extend them olive branch and give them respect. My grandmother would say, Kyle, when they slap you on the right cheek, you should turn to the left. Like my grandmother instilled certain values inside of me. And sometimes I think when I go across the country speaking to kids, those values is the thing
Mm.
that's missing inside of kids. So I like to share the internal values that my grandmother gave me to the students who may not get it from across the country. But growing up in rural South Carolina to a grandmother on a fixed income, my mom went in the home. She had a drug addiction when I was younger. My father lived in the next town over, so I only saw my dad during the summers. But I had a grandmother who loved me more than she probably loved herself. And I come
Aw.
from a really big family, man. My grandmother had a lot of kids, but she raised me and my sister. So my grandmother was really my reason why I went so hard on the football field, the basketball court, but more importantly, in the classroom. And it was because I didn't want to let her down. And somebody
Mm.
that's out there listening right now, when your life is up against the wall, when you feel like you want to give up, remember your why. Remember the person who was always there. Remember the person who you don't want to let down. And for me, man, it was my grandmother. So I'm passionate about helping people, helping communities, helping humanity, because I saw my grandmother do it. And she was
Mm.
18, but I never heard my grandmother complain one time about how hard her life was, what she went through, what she experienced. So her resiliency, her ability to persevere, like when she passed away on February the 13th, 2005, I think her spirit descended onto me, and I began to carry her torch. And so hopefully every day that I wake up, man, hopefully I make my grandmother legacy
Mm.
proud. So I'm just passionate about helping humanity become better.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that story of your grandma. Shout out to her spirit and how
Yeah.
she lives within you. You are such a beautiful human. I met you in 5 minutes, I knew that you were making a difference. So,
Right.
I love that. I love that she lives within you. When you think about the word courage to create, so I think of creation and creativity as one of the foundational pieces to help us thrive, especially from a learning science standpoint. So, when you hear that, what does that mean to you? And what have you created that you feel like has had an impact, not only maybe on your life, but on other lives?
So when you hear like courage to create, right? The courage to create is the ability for you to do something that maybe nobody has not done before. And we are
Mm,
all uniquely gifted. We are all uniquely talented. We may do the same line of work, but how we do it is different than everybody else. Because we're kind of all like fingerprints. No two people have the same exact fingerprints, not even identical twins. So we are uniquely gifted to do something. Everybody in here, everybody listening, your life has a purpose. You were born in this season, in this moment, to do something uniquely designed for your life, not mine. And so when I think about having the courage to create, I think about having the courage to step out of your comfort zone and into your end zone of success. Because as long as we stay within our comfort zone, we only do what other people want us to do, right? When you have the
mm,
courage to step outside of that comfort zone, you do what you were called to do. And we are all called to do something greater. So when you have that courage to create, you say, I don't care what other people say. I care about what I believe for my life. I care about what I
mm,
believe for my dreams, so that one day those dreams can one day become a reality. The courage to create is the courage to do something that nobody was put on this earth to do. And you have that courage. You just have to believe that courage. And what I see happen across the country is a lot of people don't believe. And when you don't
mm,
believe within yourself, when you don't believe in your dreams, when you don't believe in your abilities, you become discouraged and you don't try
mm,
and you don't take that first step. You have to have the courage to take the first step, because that dream will never become a reality until you take the first step and until you take the last step. And so I challenge somebody that's listening right now. I need you to have that courage to take that first step. If you want to write a book, open up that Word document and write out what you think the topic should be. You
mm,
want to go to college? Go to that website, fill out that application, have the courage to do something. You want to start that business? Buy the domain name, because once you buy
mm,
it, you then have to act. That's the thing about courage. You have to act. You have to do something.
mm,
If somebody out here listening, I need for you to take that first step. I had the courage.
mm,
Here's what happened in my life. I was sitting in my living room. My son came downstairs one day and he gave me his rock star hoodie that me and his mom bought him. I said, KJ, why did you give him my hoodie? And he was about 7 years old. My son said, Dad, I might get killed like Trayvon Martin. And here's the
mm,
thing: before we had the George Zimmerman, the Sandra Bland's, before we had all these things that were happening in the media, it was what happened with Trayvon Martin. And so my son gave me this hoodie, and I was happened to watch Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon mom, speak about this could have happened to any one of our sons. And so I didn't want my son to think that he couldn't wear a hoodie because he might get killed like Trayvon Martin. And the crazy thing is this: um, the media tried to portray it as a black versus a white issue when George Zimmerman was Hispanic descent. So the
mm,
narrative on that alone had already had me conflicted, because I said it's a right or wrong issue. Because if you know, George Zimmerman originally wasn't being held accountable for killing Trayvon Martin. So I just did a rally. I had the courage to do a rally. I went on my
Mm,
social media, on my Facebook. I said, hey, what do y'all think about doing a rally for Trayvon Martin? You know what happened? That
mm,
event went viral in 2 days on social media. And here's the thing, I originally did not want to do that rally.
mm, mm,
I originally didn't want to do it, but God is so dope, man. If you put something out into the atmosphere, God is going to hold you accountable for it. And I don't know what you believe in. I just believe in God. I put that on social media. God was like, yeah, you're going to do that. So I did a rally in honor of Trayvon Martin because I didn't want my son or anybody else's son in the Blythewood community to think like that. And so I called
mm,
it the 1000 Hoodie March in honor of Trayvon Martin. I got there. The police officer came up to me. He said about 3,300 people are present. I had the courage to act on a vision that I had. And when you have a vision, God gives you the provision to make that dream become a reality. So I did it. We walked around Finley Park. They said, Kyle, you got to speak. I said, but I'm not a speaker, because then I wasn't a speaker. That
right,
wasn't on my bingo card. I worked in IT.
right,
I have a degree in computer
right,
solutions. I got 3 CompTIA certifications, an A plus, Network plus, Security
right.
plus. I have apprenticeship from the United States Department of Labor as a certified network technician. Being a motivational speaker, impacting lives was never on my bingo card. I had the courage to act on
Mm,
that vision, and then now that courage, it created the Kyle Speaks movement, and now people call me
mm.
the mentality changer. I had the courage
I
to take
love
the next step,
that.
and now this is what I do.
I love it. So look, there's Randy Elm. I saw Bill Bradford joined us. Hello, Brad from the Berg. And Randy, this is Randy right here. Randy asked a question and he was on my podcast last week. Now Randy, I hope you just listened to Kyle because Randy's starting his thing right here, this boot camp that
Nice,
he's doing, and similar in some ways, but in terms of working from veterans mindset
nice.
and how to approach things. So he wanted to ask you, how do you not have an imposter syndrome? Because like this is kind of what he's struggling with. So thank you, Andy, for showing up today to meet Kyle and to ask him this question. So let's hear what advice he has to give you.
Randy, man, what's up? Yeah, so the imposter syndrome, it is like a disease if you think about it,
Mm,
because as long as you are plagued by it, it will currently eat away at you. It'll eat away at your confidence. It'll eat away at your courage. It'll eat away at your self belief, because what you end up doing is you end up seeing what other people are doing, and then you base your life upon their results and not yours. So
mm,
I simply don't have the imposter syndrome, and I don't really know if I ever had it, right? Like I
mhm,
don't see what's on your plate and see what you're eating, and then look at my plate and think, man, I'm not eating good enough because my plate doesn't look like yours. I really just focus. I have like blinders on, and I really just
mm,
focus on my plate. I focus on my lane. I focus on what I was designed to do. And once I figured out what my purpose was in life, I didn't care about what other people were doing. I met E.T. the
mm,
hip hop preacher, the biggest motivational speaker in the country, right? Met him a few times, but I don't look and see that E.T. is speaking at MLB. I don't look to see that he is making 100,000, I don't know, $500,000 to get paid to speak. I don't really care about what his motion is. All I care about is the motion that I am creating for myself. Because I know as long as I'm looking at what other people are doing, I've taken my eyes off what I should be doing. Um,
mm,
and so when I talk to students across the country, even when I talk to educators, I often tell them social media can be a gift and a curse, because
mhm.
social media
That's
will tell
true.
us what our life is not like. Social media will tell us that we're not good enough because somebody else might be doing something different. But what I also realize about social media is this: you can portray a facade of an image of your life that is really non-existent. And you can think
Mhm,
people that you can make people think that you're doing so much more when maybe we're even on the same page. But as long as you run your race, as long as you keep your eyes on your plate, on what you're doing, you don't have to worry about what other people are eating. You don't have to worry about what other people are doing. You just focus on yours. And then one day you're going to look up and you're going to look back and you're going to see how far you came. And you're going to say, wow, I thought this person was so far ahead of me, but I'm so far ahead of them. And it's not like a tit for a tat, but as long as you run your race, as long as you
mhm,
focus on what you're doing, you don't really have to focus on what other people are doing. You said something earlier about like you didn't use the word neuroplasticity, but I've been really fascinated by the mind, and how
Mhm.
you build new neural pathways, and your
Mhm.
brain is like a muscle. And so when I
Mhm.
think about like the imposter syndrome, and when I think about neuroplasticity, all I think
Mhm.
about is what can I do every single day to make my life better, so that one day when I look up, I can admire at how far I have become. And
Mhm.
so people who operate with a neuroplasticity mindset, they don't focus about what other people are doing because they're so focused about what they're doing. They're so focused about making a difference in the lives of others.
Yes, I love that. I'm so glad Randy heard you say that and he was here live with us. Thank you so much, Randy and Bill, for joining us. You guys are incredible. Let's talk a little bit about your book. So, show everyone your book, the mentality mindset. This is like the second edition, first edition. You're
Yes.
writing so many editions. So, what is the message? What's your purpose for the book? And I know like you talked a little bit about like the prompt too, the story too, but can you just talk a little bit about your mission with the book and what you hope is accomplished when someone reads your book?
So my first book, The Mentality Changer, A Journey to Help Change How You Once Thought About You. When I wrote that book 11 years ago, I
Mhm.
wrote that book. Uh, I wrote that book out of a place of desperation. I wrote that book because I felt like I needed something that would give me validation within the speaking space.
Mhm.
I wrote that book after my mentor, Reverend Senator Clemente Pinckney, was murdered in his church in Charleston, South Carolina, at Mother Emanuel. I
Mhm.
wanted to write a book that would leave a legacy behind, that would leave something that would outlive me.
Mhm.
And so everybody loved that book, right? Everybody absolutely loved that book because before you can change anyone, you first have to change yourself. Before you can
Mhm.
change anybody else's household, you have to first change your own household. Before you can
Mhm.
change other communities, you have to first change the community where you're planted. Before you can change any other county, you got to first change yours. Before you change any other city, you got to change yours. Before you change any other state, you got to change yours. Everything starts with you first, and then it grows out of that. So I wrote
Mhm.
that book to kind of shift people mindsets on how do they see themselves. And
Mhm.
then so people was like, Kyle, when you gonna write part two? But I never felt lead. I never felt led to do it. And see, that's the
Uh-huh.
thing about me. I am not going to do something because other people want
Mhm.
me to do it. I am
Right.
going to do something when I feel something inside of me says, Kyle, now is the time. And so about 8 months ago, something said, Kyle, it's now time. So I wrote the Mentality Changer too. From moments to movements, your journey to greatness continues. From moments to movements. Some of us create these moments in our lives and we
Mhm.
can turn that into our movement, but we stop. Maybe because we don't have the courage to create. So what I did there.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe we let fear rob us of
Mhm.
our opportunities to do something different, to make a difference.
Mhm.
So the moment that I'm talking about in this subtitle is the Trayvon Martin moment that I just explained earlier. I took
Mhm.
that moment, turned it into the Cow Speaks movement. I took a national tragedy, turned it into a personal triumph. I
Mhm.
don't care what has happened in your life, good or bad. You can take that bad and turn it into your good. You can take that good and turn it into your great. We take moments, we turn them into movements because our journey to greatness has to continue. It can't stop.
It does. It has to. It
It has
has
to continue.
to. The thing is, like, every micro moment matters.
Yes.
Every moment you're here, you can make a difference. And so today, I want you, for the person that's listening, I started this podcast 3 years ago because I had truck drivers telling me when I did a research study that they were depressed. It was like the most topic that they wanted to learn about. I was at a Love's Travel stop 2 weeks ago, and I was asking drivers, I was on site, like, what do you want to learn about? A driver looked at me, Kyle, and he said he wants to learn to be a better person. I mean, the
Wow.
thing is, like, this is real. This isn't going away. So, what would you say to someone that's listening today that might be struggling, might not be able to find their moment. They're like, look, Kyle, I don't have these moments that you're talking about. What advice would you give to them to help them move forward?
It's all about perspective because we all have those moments. We just have to
Mm,
see what we don't see. And you say, well, what do you mean? Sometimes you have to see something beyond what you see.
mhm,
It's something about seeing, and then it's something about sight, but then it's something about vision. And we have
mhm,
sight to see, but do you have vision to see beyond what you currently see? So I didn't know when I saw the Trayvon Martin thing that it was going to lead to the Kyle Speaks movement, but I saw
mhm,
something bigger. What I'll say maybe to that trucker, right? I'll say every single day that you wake up with a heart of gratitude. Every single day
mhm,
that I wake up, and I started doing this a few years ago, I operate with a heart of gratitude. I am grateful that I get a
mhm,
chance to simply wake up and to get this thing in life called right. So
mhm,
once I start my day off with gratitude, everything else changes. Everything else
mhm,
feels different. I will wake up, I will go to McDonald's, I will see somebody in there. Maybe they with their kids and maybe they could have money, maybe they don't. I don't know. But I'll tell a person ringing me up, I'll say, pay for that person meal behind me. And then that
mhm,
lady say, oh, you don't have to do it. I say, don't steal my opportunity to pay it forward. I
mhm,
believe in helping people, even sometimes at my own expense. Because
mhm,
I think the world that we currently live in, I still think that good outweighs bad. But I think
mhm,
bad is trying to get the upper hand. So I have to put out more good. So I take moments and I create my own movement. One day I was at the McDonald's fast food lane. I was in a drive-through. I paid for
mm.
somebody's food. They ended up doing the story on it because for eight
Wow.
hours, every person was paying for the next person meal. So I went
Yeah.
back and the lady was like, oh my God, you was the person who started this. You can
Mhm,
create your own movement. Like you
mhm.
can take your own moment and create your own movement. You just got to believe that.
That's
You got to
right.
believe
You
that
have
everything
to.
starts with self-belief.
Right. It's a mindset. This is why I bring people on like you, Kyle, who have a mind of a champion because you can educate us and I appreciate it. So next week I have Darren Tyler coming on my podcast. Now he's a safety educator in the trucking industry. What should we ask him? And we can you can show up and see what he says. What do you
I'll
think?
definitely
What
show
should
up.
we ask
So
him?
so looking at his LinkedIn page, looking at he has so much years of experience, 15 years, I believe it was. I want to ask you when you were younger, when you were younger, what was your dream? What was
Mm,
your dream job? Did you ever think trucking, right? The transportation industry. What was that a dream that you had? Or did you say you wanted to one day be a firefighter? Because what I've noticed is this
hmm.
the things that you dream about or that you had no cares of as a kid, we kind of end up doing that in some aspect when we get older. I use the example
Interesting.
firefighter because when I was a kid, I always
Okay.
wanted to be a firefighter.
I like that.
I have no idea why I wanted to be a firefighter. I had this big old poster in my room, and it was a fire truck with a ladder going up to a building, and it had smoke
Uh-huh.
coming out of the window. And it was a
Uh-huh.
firefighter climbing up there with a big USA flag. I've never been a firefighter, but you know what I do?
Right.
I
Yeah.
go into
Mhm.
schools, I go into
Mhm.
districts, and I put out fires.
Mhm.
I climb up these proverbial ladders and I go help that kid that's in that window with no direction, with no self belief, and I go put that fire out in their life. So I'm physically not a firefighter, but I do
Yes.
firefighter work. So I want to ask him, what was your dream when
Okay.
you was a kid? What did you
I
want to be?
That's perfect. I love that analogy. It's something interesting to think about for sure. I look
Yeah.
forward to hearing what
What
he
what did
said.
you
All
want to
right.
be when you was a kid? Just
Well, it's
curious.
interesting. It's interesting. So when I was in high school, I helped my peers who couldn't tie their shoe. I've always been interested in learning how we think and learn because I always wanted to make them have superpowers so that they could learn. And so I've always
Look what
been
you do now.
driven. Yes, yes, exactly. That's why I study the brain. I mean, I've always been interested in it, and there's a book there, Kyle, to be written for your high school students, I think. I think we just like had the courage to create on our podcast today. So With
And
that,
you're the second person
with
that
that,
told me this in a week
what's that?
that I need to write a book for students.
Well, you it needs to come from you. It needs to come from
Yeah.
you. You know, it'll come from you. You'll come up with that. So leave us today. I could talk to you all day. This has been such a joy to have you come on my podcast and all the people who are listening. Thank you so much. Leave us today with some lasting advice. I always say put some sunshine in our pocket for those that need it. And then you can tell everyone where to follow and find you. And we'll put all your links in the comments so people can connect with you. So
All right.
leave us
So
today.
I
Yes.
want I want to lead them. I want to leave y'all with this right here. When I go into schools, I typically talk to students about the game of chess. And I'm really
Mm,
not good in the game of chess, but I
I'm
love
not either.
playing it because it teaches me certain strategies. One strategy in the game of chess is make your next move your best move. The best
Mm,
move that you could have possibly made was to listen to this podcast today because you are going to hear something that is going to make you take a step. Another strategy in a game of chess is always stay 2 steps ahead of your opponents. If they make a
mm,
move, you have to be able to counter that. If a move happens in your life and it doesn't go as planned, you have to be able to pivot and
mm,
counter that move. Now, in a
mhm,
game of chess, every piece has a purpose. You have the king. The king is the most important piece on the board because if the king is ever captured, checkmate, game over. You have the
mm,
rook, knight, pawn. You have the bishop, and they can move in their own respective places. But then you
mm,
have the queen, and the queen is the most powerful piece on the chessboard. Nobody want to mess with the queen. But then you also have this piece right here. This
mm.
piece right here, man. I'm a visual learner, so I'm very big on
I
visual.
love
I am holding up a pawn. And the purpose of a pawn in the game of chess is to move 1 step forward. Now, once it starts out, a pawn can take 2 steps, but then all a pawn can do is move 1 step forward. Now, here's the
mm,
thing about a pawn, it's only worth 1 point. So a bishop or a
mm,
knight will see this pawn, and sometimes they won't even take it because they say, that pawn can't hurt me. Now, the thing about
mm,
a pawn is all it can do is move 1 step forward. So it never has to worry about looking backwards because it can only move forward. I hope somebody caught that. You don't have to worry about what's happening in your life. You don't have to worry about what's behind you because all you can do is move forward. You don't have to worry about what's happening to the right or the left, the imposter syndrome, looking at everybody else play because all you can do is move forward. Now, if a pawn wants to jump another piece, it can only do it diagonally, but then it has to keep moving 1 step forward. Now, the thing about this hopeless, insignificant, powerless piece is this. If a pawn ever makes it to the back end of the opponent's board, guess what, y'all? It goes up for something called promotion. So that means
mm,
this hopeless, insignificant, powerless piece can one day become a queen. And the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. All this pawn did was keep moving 1 step forward. When life got hard, it moved 1 step forward. When it lost a loved one, it got itself back up and it moved 1 step forward. Maybe life didn't go like how they thought, but they kept moving 1 step forward. And if you keep moving 1 step forward, one day you are going to make it to the other side of your life. And when they ask you what you want to be, tell them to promote you into a queen. You want to be one of the most powerful pieces on your chessboard. I challenge every single person listening on today. You keep moving 1 step forward. Life get hard, you keep moving 1 step forward. When sometimes you want to lose hope, keep moving 1 step forward. And one day you are going to make it to the other side. And when they ask you what you want to be, tell them to promote you into a queen so you can be one of the most powerful pieces on your chessboard. You can find me on Instagram, man. I'm Kyle Speaks. You can find me on Facebook, Kyle A. Greene, Greene with an E at the end. The Mentality Changer 2 is currently out on Amazon. Go check it out, man. You will absolutely love it. I love y'all, man. I believe in your success. I believe that you have the power to one day change the world. I just need for you to believe that for yourself. Peace.
absolutely. I love it, Kyle. And with that, there needs to be no closing. Until next time, be kind, be loving, and move 1 step forward.